concerned about trouble and trying to be responsible, one-sided news stories.
Sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Hey everyone, Dave here, December 1773. With me as always is Ryan. This is episode 33 of the weekly show. All the week's hottest topics with a twist. As always, be sure to click on the bottom right of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like, comment, which is also important because that'll try to defeat YouTube.
Engage.
I want to use YouTube's stuff against them. That's what I want to do.
Not only will I use YouTube stuff against them, I will bitch about them using my stuff against me.
I don't know
on their platform.
If they'll delete stuff. YouTube's honestly, out of all the big tech companies, they're kind of, dare I say, the most lenient. But regardless, comment below what you think of YouTube.
Engage.
Yeah, engage.
It's important.
I don't care. Comment below what you think of me. I don't really give a shit.
Did you get a haircut?
No, I have lack of haircut is what it is.
I'm going this week, so I should look fresh for December Nation next week.
Headline! McDonald's new artificial intelligence will take your drive-through order.
So, is it programmed to tell you their shake machine is down still?
Yeah, that's one of the things it does. It says, what do you want? A 1, 2, 3. It knows the numbers, and it knows that you can't get a milkshake. No ice cream. The AI machine will not be making $15 an hour either. On the $15 an hour front, I did see a tweet recently from an economist, if you want to call him that. It's one of those lefty economists. They're not even a real economist. He noted
economist deniers.
Yes. I think it's Robert Reich. I think that's his name. He's the third Reich. He had noted that $15 an hour. If you think $15 an hour for a minimum's too high, just look at Jeff Bezos. What do you think of his $2,400 an hour? Or per second, sorry. 24 hours. $2,400 per second is what Jeff Bezos makes. And to him I say, if people want to make that much, go do what Jeff Bezos did. And if your answer to that is it's too hard to do, that's why he makes $2,400 a second. That's why you are fighting for $15 minimum wage. What do you? I don't even know what to say to these people anymore. Go be Jeff Bezos, then. It's so easy. Go be Jeff Bezos. You're making minimum wage, and you're fighting to raise it because you can't do what he did.
It's amazing their skill level is complaining about not making enough money.
Yeah. If that was a job, they would be professionals.
The writing's been on the wall for a while with the self-scan checkout, which I did on my personal Facebook page. I don't know if I brought up here, but a robot at the self-checkout stole my penny, and I asked for my penny back, man.
I shared it to our page. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I would have left the penny. I don't have time for this shit. I would have left. Yeah, Ryan is fighting the machines.
I am fighting the Matrix.
Ryan's not leaving his fucking pennies behind.
Well, if everybody left a penny, David, how many pennies is that?
A lot.
A super lot of pennies.
If I've learned anything from gas stations, it's enough to pay for just about anything here short.
Yeah, maybe it's enough to pay everybody $15 an hour minimum wage more. We should. Hey! Before we go further, I'm sorry. We should just all make $1 million an hour, and nobody will be poor. So
that's a good idea. Robert Reich would approve.
I'm glad they're sending our money overseas instead of in our pockets.
I found this interesting because there's an interesting little bit of infighting going on in the LGBT community. I don't know if people realize this.
Is it
So
all
really-
the extra adjectives?
It's most of the adjectives versus the T. I think a lot of people don't realize that the LGBT community is not all of them are down for the T, but headlines. Ian McKellen calls on gay people to be trans allies. We're all under the queer umbrella.
Ian McKellen, like
Yeah, that's right.
Gandalf?
Yeah,
Gandalf.
that's right.
Gandalf. Yeah, he's been homosexual for a long time. So he's saying we should be allies to trans people?
Well, the LGBT community should be welcoming of the T.
So is he welcoming of, a young lady getting the living shit kicked out of her by a grown man in a competitive sport?
Ryan, we must be accepting of the T's.
It's amazing they can talk about 1% of things, like for abortion, for example. Like, they always like to bring up rape and incest. And it's like these hyper extreme circumstances. Well, let's use their platform here. Let's bring up the hyper, MMA, for example.
The most rare case is people in MMA getting their ass beat by a man.
Yeah. It's literally like the smallest probability of people doing that professionally, let alone to be transgender on top of it to begin with. So let's look at the results of that. And the girl had severe brain damage, like broken skull in multiple places, if I'm not mistaken. Fallon Fox or something was. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, fuck them. Let them figure it out on their own. There's a reason. There's a problem. There's a reason.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying everybody should be an ally, maybe we should talk about the problem that people are having.
Yeah, and I think we should all. I think we typically note this when we talk about this. I don't know why I feel the need to emphasize this, but we don't care, really. We don't care. I don't care what you do. Whatever you do with your private time, that's fine. I found it interesting.
If you're gonna hit on me, let me know beforehand. Because I'm feeling. Sorry, it's misogynistic.
Headlines. 12-year-old girl arrested for selling stun guns at her middle school.
Oh, we wouldn't want that now, would we?
Future libertarian for sure. She's gonna
Jeez, that is thirsty.
She's gonna be.
Do you know where the
Mcafee out of Spain prisons?
Speaking of Mcafee, he's in the headlines this week as well.
I might have him.
So do you know where this 12-year-old girl is hustling stun guns out of?
If you'll believe it, it's Florida.
The orange state, huh? The sunshine state, rather.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll believe it or not.
Nothing to wake you up like 10,000 volts, man.
I love a good. You know why I love the state of Florida? DeSantis and their headlines. It's a great state.
So do you think they need them? Is this like becoming a problem that this young lady's bringing stun guns, or where is she getting stun guns if she's 12?
So these are all.
How is she hustling stun guns? It's like harder to hustle than pot. It's probably easier to get weed and sell weed illegally than it is to get stun guns. We got a 12-year-old the kids at school. We're at kids at school. How much are we selling stun guns for? My friend in New York State got caught with a stun gun, and it's like almost a felony. You had to get it dropped to like a misdemeanor and all sorts of shit. Like, you're not allowed to have them. Like, over a certain voltage. This young lady, 12 years old.
She's just flipping open.
Dude, where are you getting stun guns?
She's running it. I love it.
Oh, man.
Mcafee. Well, we can get into this. Headlines. Antivirus software pioneer John McAfee indicted for cryptocurrency fraud. What I find most interesting about this is if you read into what's going on, it's very similar to what Elon Musk was doing.
Hey!
I'm not saying they'll go after Musk, but it's pretty close to the same
you know
thing.
why they won't go after Musk? That guy be like, you know what, go fuck yourself. I'm going to go blast my ass on Mars, and I got enough food. You know what, fuck you.
The feds won't...
He's jerked off enough times and filled up like specimens to just like recreate himself on Mars. It will be known as Elon Mars.
This is all just working out. I guess we can. So I find it interesting. He's starting small. He will be going to Mars, but he's starting.
The shit writes itself, David. The shit writes itself.
Headlines: Elon Musk wants to build a city around his Texas SpaceX facility, Starbase.
Oh, I wonder why. And you know what I say to that? Wait until he invents his new cryptocurrency, Starcoin.
Starcoin. Their national anthem will be Starboy by the weekend.
Whoa!
It's out.
All of the lights, all of the lights. Hey.
I don't know what that. I don't even know what that one was about. To be honest with you.
You faded back to black, baby. We're back.
GoPros.
No,
I hope
real,
GoPro
though,
goes out of business.
I don't think they'll go after. Musk might invent his own crypto. I don't know if that's even how. I know nothing, obviously. But I wouldn't put it past him to make his own crypto, because then when he talks about it on Twitter, like, they can't go after him for trying to influence the market. It'd be like he's selling a product.
Yeah, but really, that's what. See, the interesting thing is that's kind of what.
Is that what they're kind of bartering on? I mean, that's what we're kind of figuring out, right? Is like crypto a product? Is it an investment? Like, what is it? Will it become currency? Because that's the leverage a lot of people are taking, is that our model with our monetary fiat dollar is unsustainable.
Sure.
So something's going to have to, either it's going to break or something's going to have to replace it.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, though. Like you said, what is cryptocurrency? Is it actually currency? Is it a product? Is it a stock?
It brings up a lot of questions.
Is it all of the above? And if so, why is it a bad thing to pump? Like, why can't you sell your product or somebody else's product?
Yeah, it's like, what's its value? What's its intrinsic value? And then its value is based on a number that fluctuates. Just like a stream. What's the value of like a stream? I don't think people know. I don't think they have like each stream is worth a nickel. YouTube says that. But like when a stream, let's get political with it, when a video can start riots and cause the Benghazi thing to unfold because of a streaming platform, like, what is the actual value of a stream? In the most extreme political sense, to keep it on, in our relevant topic of podcasting.
And YouTube doesn't know that answer. That's why they don't sell the stream. They sell the ads.
Exactly. And that's why they have to steal your data. Because until they figure out what a stream's value is, and I think they won't ever, maybe they'll never know that with an open internet. Like maybe the internet's going to have to be paid for and it will become a commodity, like a public utility. But since it will, how do I want to put this? I don't know if the government will pay for it or we'll get cheaper internet. Let's say you get $10 a month and you'll get all the internet access, right? Like everybody pays for it and then you pay $10 in your however, they'll figure something out. And my point is when the internet is like paid for, maybe they'll actually have a value of what streaming is, because they have numbers to base it on. Streaming is just like made up, just much like cryptocurrency is made up. It's kind of this fluctuating, valuable item. It's actually showing the proof that things only have value because people put meaning in them.
Yeah, things only have value because they're valued by people.
Yeah. And then scarcity drives that value in that class of people. And just happens that the class of people with value currently is the United States with the dollar. That's why everything's based on it. But yeah, that's where this fight for crypto comes from. But yeah, I can't. Musk is going to build his own society, dude. I mean,
here first, Mars next.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, you know what? He's just going to build rockets underneath the whole cube and blast the whole thing up there.
Sure. I'm interested to see how this unfolds, because it's supposed to be relatively soon, within, well within a decade. They're supposed to be tripping over to Mars. So.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a few weeks, earlier in the last year. I don't even know how to put it anymore. Sometime during the course of this program, we talked how they were going to race cars up there on the moon next year. Yeah.
I always say, I've been saying this recently, to comment below your favorite headline from the week. This is my favorite headline of this week, just because the absurdity of it. Headlines. Rooster, fitted with a 3-inch knife, stabs man to death during cockfight training.
I guess that was good. The guy trained him good.
The trainer was too good, the Rooster one. How did a Rooster get a 3-inch blade, and how did he kill a man with it? How did he not run away from the Rooster? How does any of that story happen Thoughts and prayers to the man who got killed by
Oh my god!
chick.
Did the Rooster hold it, or did he like tape it on there? Like, could you imagine getting a flying rooster 3-inch? It's the most savage thing I think I've heard in a while.
Yeah, the Rooster won that fight clearly. Obviously,
Oh my god.
That Rooster is going to win all the fights.
Headlines: They did not put the Rooster down.
They were too scared to go near him.
He grabbed another 3-inch blade.
This is why we have the Second Amendment.
This is why we have to.
If that happened here, that Rooster would be shipped to KFC in a bucket. Also, knives are equally deadly. Just ask the United Kingdom.
The only 3-inch knife next to my chicken in New York is, with a bucket and napkins.
Headlines. Good old California. Almost as good as Florida is providing headlines. California bill would give $1,000 fines to retailers with separate girls and boys toy sections.
Are we legislating biology now?
Yes. I don't understand why, even if...
Well, do we have private property rights still or no?
In California?
Oh, that's right, because of COVID, we just gave up our business rights. That's right. Nobody fought for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's getting fined. Nobody's open, but $1,000 fine if you
allow the
don't mix
and let it happen.
Girl and boy toys. Who's next? Are they coming from McDonald's? Does McDonald's still do the gender-based toys? Burger King.
They had Pokemon cards this time.
I just think I don't know. I think it's super ridiculous for many reasons. One, because even if the toys are separated, you can just walk to the other section if you want a different toy. Right? Like if I want a toy that's a girl toy, I just hightail it over a couple aisles and I'm there. Like literally at Walmart, they're right next to each other anyway.
Why are we letting government define language? And what is boy and girl? This is so fucking stupid. We've fallen so far off the shit that matters. I said last week, and I've been saying lately, that I don't give a fuck about the dead of this country anymore, and I don't. But like, what are we doing? We're arguing about potatoes. Sex of imaginary potatoes as grown adults.
To be fair, partially our fault. We sexed the potato to begin with, so we should.
Yeah, God forbid we made a companion for him. Maybe we took a piece of his spud away and grew a female potato out like the Bible stories. At the same time we're landing, objects on Mars. We're bitching about potato sexes. This is so ridiculous, man. Why are we allowing the government to make laws about private property rights in somebody's business about boy and girl sections? And what's crazy is it will be championed and pioneered by big corporations because they know the truth in the matter, that they lobby for all these big lobby laws of $15 an hour and these other things to shut down private businesses, just like this pandemic has already done. I'm watching in my local community here. Businesses aren't staying open in Depew, man.
No. I found this to be interesting because this is just a long list of things that Biden said he was going to do that he didn't do, and these are some of the promises I remember him making. It kind of got swept under the radar, but headlines. Biden admin senior advisor says they will start acting on reparations now. We don't want to wait.
Didn't they promise them 40 acres and a mule like 100 years ago?
That's not
good. They're still waiting on the government to give it back to them. I'm not taking away anything of suffraging or slavery, obviously, but like the thought that you want the government to right its wrong is fucking dumb. They're not going to. They could barely give you $1,400 twice and $600 once.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much you could possibly expect.
How can we equate the value of coming out of slavery? Like, how can we put a monetary value? Like, I don't want to say this, but you're putting a dollar value on the suffrage of your ancestors.
I almost think there might be a weird, interesting way to do it, but I don't even want to go down that road.
Yeah,
what if you like
per
assumed
year of slavery?
Sure, like if you assumed, I don't know, the slaves worked how many hours, and then you multiply that by like
this feels so wrong.
The wage.
Yeah, how do you figure it out? And you want to give the government, and you're talking about how the government, the same government that enslaved you, which I'm going to transition this into something quick. But the government that enslaved you, you're going to allow them to put a dollar value on the enslavement value? Get the fuck out. Remember the 2/3 thing you always get bent out of shape of? Well, you're asking them to put a value on the 2/3 of a fucking person. And which brings me to something. Oprah sat down with Prince Henry and Meghan Markle. Which, first of all, I am absolutely tired of the worshiping of royalty in this country. We revolted from them. Thank you, Boston Tea Party, December 1773. Secondly, isn't it ironic that the very family that enslaved, like, I don't know, all of the globe and had colonization and all the things that you're told to hate about this country.
Well, Ryan, are you insinuating they had slaves?
Is idolized in this family. And then Oprah Winfrey, a black, rich, billionaire woman, is going to sit there and interview the royal family and then sell it for millions of dollars to CBS. A black woman who has talked about slavery and racism and oppression and all these other things in the racist country. Well, this country found by those racist Europeans, those colonizers.
Well, yes, I suppose.
It's fine when you can sell the content for $7 million, Oprah, who has your own network. You own 100% of your content. And it's also weird that the royal family would choose to sit down with a celebrity like they're a giant group of people that is like, I wonder if they're a cabal of actors.
I was going to say like a cabal of people, of rich, powerful people.
It's a fucking joke. They flaunt it in your face now. I was telling my friends in private yesterday, I need Santa Claus's naughty list, and I'm just gonna go through and start whacking off people. Be like, "What do you get? Are you corrupt?" I'm gonna masturbate them off. No, we're gonna go through and we're just gonna hit them for corruption. We're gonna put them in jail or hang them or whatever is in the decreance of the severity of the offense. Get it done. It's out there. It's out there. Gotta be.
Comment below if you want to be on Ryan's whack off list.
We're here to whack off 100 Nazis.
Jeez. You really just go for it sometimes, don't you?
I told you I had 2 cups of coffee today.
Yeah, so I thought this was interesting. This was like a cool little... I'm gonna state this headline, and I want you to guess which planet this happened on.
The planet?
Yeah. Headlines! Space hurricane which rains electrons instead of water is discovered by scientists. Space hurricane that rains electrons instead of
Venus.
Water. Venus. It's not bad. It's not a bad guess. Venus is incorrect.
Where is it?
Earth.
What the fuck? Where?
It's on Earth. There is a space hurricane on Earth that is raining electrons.
Electrons?
I think they said it's above...
Do we have footage? Do we have photographs of this?
So, no. Not technically, because you can't really see them.
So how the fuck do they know it's real? I'm just speculating.
Right, we know gravity's real. You can't see it.
No, we know that the theory of
real,
we know David.
Biden votes were real. We couldn't see them. Come on.
Oh, we just happen to find votes on the tables.
Not that we're insinuating it changed or affected the election. I'm just saying there were some irregularities.
Especially in New Zealand's election.
Oh yeah, I forgot we did that. Speaking of space, I like this. You know who Baker Mayfield is, right? Cleveland Browns quarterback, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, he was in Josh Allen's draft class.
Yes. Headlines: Baker Mayfield saw a UFO. First of all, Baker Mayfield saw it. It must be true. He described it as a very fast object that he has quite not seen before. He saw it. The person in the car with him saw it, and he said there was another person who can corroborate his story who saw it. The aliens are coming for us. They're shutting down the cameras. Aliens are turning the frogs gay.
Check the water.
This is war. Yeah, and apparently a third person who saw it, who him and Baker Mayfield didn't know about it until they both noted it at the same time. So obviously, there's aliens.
Sounds like they made up the story.
Are you sure?
You know, I love that the first explanation we think when we see a fast object you've never seen before, we're like, oh, it's got to be alien.
I mean, if it's that fast, I mean, come on. I mean, how fast are things now? They're not that fast.
I don't know, like a Tesla just... You remember when Elon Musk just blasted a rocket in the middle of downtown LA just to see if people noticed, and nobody noticed?
Exactly. Because it wasn't worth noticing. That's why.
Well, maybe it didn't look alien enough. You know,
because it wasn't
streaking across the sky.
It wasn't an alien craft. They're like, oh, that's stupid Elon throwing his shit in the air again. Stupid SpaceX moron.
We've done a devaluation of not calling illegal immigrants aliens because we don't think about things as foreign, right? So, like, when we landed the Mars rover, that is an alien invasion. We invaded Mars as aliens. We're fucking Martians. Like, all, like, it's just so ridiculous.
I guess I never thought of it that way, but that's entirely true. We have literally invaded other planets
in our solar system. I'm sorry, a moon and a planet in our solar system. We're just blasting shit out there. We're like, oh, fuck it. We're just going to land this thing in Venus, see how far we get. We're the aliens. We're the alien invaders fornicating other planets.
When Mars attacks got it wrong. It's actually when we attack.
Can you imagine in like 1,000 years when there's all the Elon Musk on Mars? Like, oh, Mars is destroyed, so they blast off, they land back on Earth and get fucked up by humans that they came from. We're like fighting with sticks still.
I got a few more. One of them, this next one, is very interesting to me because I feel like people do this too often, but there's usually a reason for it, where people say, like, well, if Trump would have said this, imagine, brr, brr, brr. But in this case, headlines. Obama reportedly said Pete Buttigieg couldn't win presidency because he's, quote, gay and short. You heard it was from Obama, so he's a progressive thinking individual. But a gay cannot win presidency.
Well, if you're black, you get a pass, you know.
He was not a gay.
Yeah, Obama.
His wife was a trans, but he wasn't a gay.
He was black, though. Black guy will never be president. Hoping those bitter clingers. Oh. Oh.
Yeah, to that point, how does he know? He was the first black president. That's a great point. How ballsy is it to be the first black president to say that the first gay president can't happen?
Remember when he read it, he was like, oh, the first open gay president fucking candidate. Like, oh my God, we're breaking so many ceilings. They're like trapped in a pinball machine, just punching at the windows. Like, oh, look at the glass ceiling. Ridiculous.
There's glass everywhere you look.
There's just glass everywhere. You're cutting the rest of us with all the ceiling tiles breaking.
I like this.
Piece of shit, dude. I hate these motherfuckers, dude. What a piece of shit. Could you imagine? I would be getting dragged out of, like, if a high schooler said that, he'd be getting dragged out of class and suspended and canceled on the internet, but the fucking former black president, forever black president, it's ridiculous. People are a fucking mockery.
I'd like to point out that this next one makes me laugh, because if you were a pastor, this is something I'd imagine you saying.
I am a pastor, David.
We do quite frequently joke about misogyny around here.
I can't wait for this.
Headlines. Pastor under fire for sermon telling wives to, quote, lose weight and look hot, not like a butch. It's
Praise
the Lord
Jesus.
speak. It's the Lord speak.
Praise God.
I don't know.
Is this guy close to me or where's
There had to
where's
have been a
this
progression of the sermon. Like, you don't
this guy?
open with that, right? That's not your opening line of the sermon.
If that's the opener of that sermon, that shit's about to get hot, dude.
These
He's
women
getting
need to stop looking
strippers.
like a butch, says the pastor.
Since we can't make them, we're gonna have to find them. And the Lord brought, and they come in all strippered out.
There's like a certain like steps to things. Like stand-up comedians know this. Like you don't just come out and make a super racist joke right out of the gate. You gotta feel the audience out a little. I feel like you felt the audience out.
That guy had his pedophile dick out swinging for that shit, dude. Come on. He's swinging.
Listen, it's the Lord.
Get hot and lose weight.
I didn't. I didn't say it.
God. Praise God.
It was the Lord.
Not like a butch. That's what he's really under fire.
Why do you think they feed you crackers and wine at church? You're not getting Lunchables and Little Debbie's at church. You're getting the body of Christ.
When we get out of here, we're going to pick the oranges off the tree. Shut the fuck up.
You get the body of Christ, which is, I'm pretty sure, a piece of drywall. And that's why Eve was thrown out of the garden. That's why Eve was thrown out of the garden for stealing the apple. Like you can't be eating too many of those. We need you to keep trim.
Here's grass. Like, wait, we're naked now? We're naked because you had to eat the fucking apple?
You don't give them clothes. It's easy to hide the fitness concerns.
Yeah, they're Dobby from Harry Potter.
You're in a garden. You don't get anything that's fatty, and if you eat an apple, I'll fucking kill you.
The minute that leaf comes off, they get independence and want to vote.
That's the worst.
Tell me, you look me in the face right now. 85% of women would love to stay home and not have to worry about a fucking thing. You know why? Because 99% of guys would love to do the exact same thing. So.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
fuck out of here. Independent women, my ass.
We've gotten our weekly misogyny out of the way.
It's going to be a common thing on this program. We're red pilling people more ways than one.
This next one's interesting. I don't suspect this is going to go through in a place like Kentucky. Headlines. Insulting a police officer could soon become a crime in Kentucky. Rand Paul's not going to let that fly. Come on. Don't insult that police officer. I swear to God, I will put you in jail.
I will crime the shit out of you. Isn't it insulting to think that they can not be insulted?
Oh, they can easily be insulted. That's why you have to make a law to stop it from happening. What kind of snowflake mentality is that? Come on.
My next question is, what considers insulting, man? Like, I'm going to fuck your wife later? Is that insulting?
I don't know. That could just, in essence, be a statement of fact.
Yeah, I'm sure the social worker will be able to deal with it, so.
Yeah, this idea here is all types of dumb. Don't do it. We talk about slippery slopes all the time. That's a super slippery slope. That's an icy hill. That's an icy hill covered in Dawn dish soap. That's a terrible idea.
That's your that's your shoes filled with dog shit.
I'm not sure how that's slippery.
You ever try to walk with slippery shit on your shoe, dude? Slippier than shit, dude. I had a college instructor used to say slippery than shit. Slippery than dog shit.
Maybe he's onto something. I got really two more, and the next one. It's funny. I sent the message to Ryan. I said this is going to be our top of the week unless anything happens. And then the next day something happened. I went, never mind. But I wanted to get into this because I grew up on these books, as I'm sure most people grew up on these books. And as we always do, I will emphasize here that there's certain aspects of this that's not technically cancel culture with the Dr. Seuss thing, because it was like his own publisher, and it's only a few books, and it's just because the imagery. And put all of this aside. Headlines: 6 Dr. Seuss books won't be published for racist images. The reason I wanted to get into this is because I think we've lost the idea of what racism is. I don't believe an image to have the ability to be racist. Do you think it's possible for an image to be racist? An image can be offensive. Maybe it can potentially incite racism, but I don't think an image in itself can be racist.
Art is art. It can be nothing. So it's all in the eyes of the beholder of interpretation. Now, the person who painted the image can definitely be racist and have it seem like it is a racist, insulting image. But I don't think art objectively can be racist. It has to be with interpretation, and there has to be context for it to be considered bad, I guess. I don't think anything, even a swastika or anything, or I don't think any artwork should ever be banned or be called racist or pulled or ever. Ever.
Yeah. And again, to be clear, this wasn't...
Ku Klux Klan.
These weren't banned. The publisher pulled them, but...
Yeah. And, for whatever, private company, like you said. But yeah, I don't think art is racist at all. I don't think it can be. I think it's just, like I said, intent, context. The person can definitely be racist, obviously, and mean it, but no, we should not ban or cancel any form of art ever.
Now, some of the imagery, now, granted, it loses context. We're talking 70, 80 years later now. These are from the 50s, some of them. You lose the context. So some of these have, their words, racist depictions of Japanese people. Okay, well, let's put the context to it. We're talking back just after World War II. Tensions were a little high.
Yeah, it's how they drew them, is what you're saying, right?
Sure.
Like that was the art style.
Sure. And then imagery of black men that was, it's racist. I'll use the word offensive, not racist. But again, this was in the 50s. What was the famous thing you said on one of our earliest shows is that when you want to have context about how new to like civil rights and everything black people are, like your dad was around before they could vote, right?
63, my dad was born. People of color could vote in 64.
And that's 11 years. That's 11 years after some of these images.
Yeah.
So again, I get it. They're offensive by today's standards, but you got to put context to them. Like these aren't like this wasn't from like a year ago. Like I would get, I get it. It would be offensive, and I still wouldn't think they should be banned even in that context. But I would understand it. But I think that some of the dangerous stuff is that people see these images and then they equate it to Dr. Seuss was racist. And it's a
failure to know history.
Sure, it's total fabrication of truth. Dr. Seuss has one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. It's actually a short story. It's The Sneetches. You ever read The Sneetches?
No.
So the Sneetches is interesting. It's a story about tolerance and acceptance, and basically there's two groups of Sneetches. There's the star-belly Sneetches, and then there's the Sneetches that have no stars upon theirs, I think is how it's worded. They have stars on some of them, and some of them have no stars. And they walk by, and these star-belly Sneetches are so snooty and stuck up. We got the stars. We're the best Sneetches. They wouldn't even let the other Sneetches on their beaches, if I remember correctly. But then somebody comes around and says, well, hold on now. I have an idea, and this is good capitalism right here. I have a machine, and I can put you through this machine and put a star on your belly. And then you'll be no different than them. So they go through this machine, and then all the people who originally had stars were like, well, wait a minute, they're not real star-belly Sneetches. So the same guy goes, I can make a machine to take the stars off
your stomach.
And they go right through, but the whole book is about the idea that they're the same people, and then they're being judgmental and whatever. It's a book about tolerance, and this was in the same era. I mean, I think the Sneetches was written in like the early 50s. So that is not a book done by some racist individual. He's the opposite of that. He was, you know. So yeah, I get it. There's offensive text from 70, 80 years ago. The pictures look offensive from today's modern standpoint, but I think people need to relax.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, Dr. Seuss, I believe, was World War I, used to write political propaganda cartoons for the war effort.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to piggyback on your tolerance story there, he knew exactly the way to portray very simple moral values and very simplistic stories, and have them presented in context. And I think, I've said that we need to talk religion and politics in public. Well, I think history needs to be in the three now. It's got to be the triangle. History, religion, and politics need to be pushed. And, that's where this Dr. Seuss thing is definitely stemming from. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
If anything, we should be looking to these prints. This is why, art should never be washed. It's why art's valuable. That's why during wars, people have taken the art and kept it safe, so we can know our history and through interpretive ways. But we should be referencing that stuff and seeing how far we've come.
Absolutely.
It should be like a token of like, wow, look at civil rights. And yeah, we have ways to go and let's fight, blah, blah, blah. But like, for real, look at how we draw black people now compared to how we did. Black people have cartoons about them. Black people this, like whatever. Use it for the positive. But Dr. Seuss probably definitely helped. I mean, what's the whole Grinch story, right? I mean, Grinch is the only green guy, right? He's only green who?
Mm-hmm.
He looks different than everybody else. He lives in all mountaintops. Only white people live in mountaintops. I mean, I'm not trying to put racism into it, but if I could plug racism into a Dr. Seuss story and use it as an allegory, the Grinch is the black guy. No wonder he's got a heart that's a third the size. Let's use this art to interpret life instead of trying to rip apart. Life is ripping apart art instead of the other way around. Like, art is supposed to break down life and make it beautiful and fun, and you're supposed to be able to look at things differently and get objective truths and different points of view and be inspired. And that's why I do art, and I love art and music and movies and TV. Look at these things as art. TV is not a show. It's art. It's directed. It's edited. It's produced. There's music. Like, there's so many layers to it. And we're so used to it, we've removed it, that it's hard for us to get value from the art like we should, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, by the publisher taking these books down, I mean, you're kind of doing a disservice
to art.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I wanted to get into that for two reasons. One, because I grew up on Dr. Seuss, and I'm sure a lot of people did, and obviously Dr. Seuss doesn't just make children racist, so I think this whole thing's ridiculous. But secondly, it's about people controlling the language, which is something you've talked about a lot, by calling imagery racist. I just don't see imagery as having an ability to be racist.
Yeah, this is not the equivalent of running into a theater and screaming fire, which is the thing they say about how your First Amendment doesn't cover inciting panic.
Mm-hmm.
If you go in a movie theater, scream fire, and there's no fire, and people get trampled and hurt, and that's people's defense for a lot of things. But nah, man. I don't mean to get biblical, but my dad, he brings up the stuff sometimes. He says, "Thou shalt not worship a graven image." Well, isn't art a graven image? So if you take any value or worship in the graven image, it's kind of one of these things of like it's the power of interpretation. I think you interpreting these things as racism is saying more about you than it's saying about the image.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. Comment below if you were raised on the Dr. Seuss. I'm sure most, if not all, children know of Dr. Seuss. I mean, come on. Let's be clear. You grow up, you read Dr. Seuss books. They're tremendous.
I wonder... I don't want to piggyback on the. I'll jump on the right wing of politics here. I wonder if they're canceling Dr. Seuss because he has some kind of historic background, or like he's a good person, or they're trying to You know what I mean? Like another Western icon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to. When I seen it all, it's just like the potato head thing. It's like, man, the amount of invested effort we're putting into these things is just. And back to your Sneetches, we're just painting stars and taking stars off now. We're just openly slapping patches on each other and batting for teams because we want to be opposite of the other people.
Well, we're not even doing
not the Sneetches.
It used to just be stars and no stars, and now it's stars and triangles and octagons and whatever the hell else you want to put on your belly because we just make them up as we go now. The big news of the week, I think, is what knocked off Dr. Seuss, is H.R. 1. H.R. 1 is a bill which I have some points here. These are laid out points. I don't do this often. This requires research. So some of the things in H.R. 1, it mandates 15 days of early voting for any election, including federal officials. Federal offices, rather. It creates automatic voter registration unless the individual opts out upon the submission of personal information, name, address, whatever, to any state agency for any purpose. You submit for your driver's license, you're a voter. Unless you opt out. Creates an online voter registration up to and including on election day. You can register to vote online. You can't vote online, but you can register online, just to be clear. Automatic restoration of voting rights to felons. The felon thing, I do have to come clean. If someone serves their time in prison and they get out, we either need to decide as a nation if their time served was their time served or it isn't, because felons come out and they can't vote, they can't get firearms, and they can't do all
driver's
these things.
Licenses, anything sometimes.
Yeah. So listen, if somebody's sentenced for 5 years in prison or something and they get out, they're free people now. They're not, otherwise they're serving life sentences. So I'll be honest, on the felon front, I'm not against felons voting as long as they're not still in prison. I mean, come on. No excuse is the quote. Mail-in voting for all voters in all states.
How's this a priority? I don't understand why we're at 50 days in and they're already securing their ability to make it be able to interpret and sway elections. It seems. If I were to just look at this in past experience, I'm sure this is the cabal of people familiar with the matter, assuring the safety of American elections for the next election. It's amazing they win, and then 50 days later they're trying to secure the next one to grease the skids for that. These cocksuckers, man. Well,
hold on. These get better, believe it or not. It also mandates the counting of illegal aliens among state population for purposes of determining numbers of congressional districts in each state. So if Arizona has...
So they're counting illegals. It sounds like illegal immigrants can't vote.
Let's use the terms undocumented Americans.
Undocumented illegal immigrants.
Undocumented migrants. Yeah, so if Arizona has 2 million illegal aliens, that goes towards how many congressional seats they get.
This is sad stuff, man. This is like how you destroy countries.
It allows ballot harvesting by third parties, public financing by creating $6 to $1 match of federal funds against small donor campaign contributions of $200 or less. One of the major things it does is potentially creates DC as its own state. So it would be the 51 states of the United States. And then some of the things it prohibits are just as scary as some of the things it mandates. It does not allow... sorry, I lost myself here. No signature matching for mail-in ballots. No purging of voter rolls. No voter ID requirements. No disqualification of ballots for our precinct of voting. And no redistricting by legislative bodies in the states. So some of the major things there: no voter ID and no purging of voter rolls. The fact that a voter roll can't be purged is outrageous. Not to mention the fact that it also makes like we said, when anybody signs up for any form of public identity or whatever, driver's license, and then it automatically puts you on the voter roll, and then you can't purge it out. That's just opening the door for so much.
It's opening the door for so much, and it's also allowing them to keep that number of people registered voting, which allows them to get more seats in representative of government. Because remember, the bigger the district, the more representatives there are in the House. So, like, even if people move or die, like, oh, there's still 10,000 registered voters. And since you can't purge that, you can't take those 10,000 out. That could be a congressional seat all of a sudden.
Not only that, but will those people be caught voting? I don't know if you've.
Yeah, I mean, this is so ridiculous. Voting should happen on voting day in person, and we should have to show proof. I don't know why this is hard, and by citizens.
I don't know if you've followed Steven Crowder's on his show. He was going through, I think in Vegas and Michigan, he was going through some of the public records of people who voted and where they voted from, their voting address and whatever. And he's sending interns out, and they're literally getting pictures of places people voted from, just in the middle of an intersection or under an underpass or whatever. Well, it turns out that in doing this, they stumble upon an even bigger issue. An ex-Clinton staffer who is missing. They're literally missing. They've been missing for 2-3 years, whatever. So an ex-Clinton staffer has been missing, voted in Vegas at an address, and when they went to the address, it was under an underpass. And then they found that the address got switched on the public records after this video came out, on a day when the state says they don't change public records. And then it got switched to another address. Well, he sent somebody to the other address that it got switched to. They don't live there either. He calls the person in charge of this in Nevada. And the person says, well, this is just a typo or whatever, and then they just like blow it off like nothing happened. This is a huge deal. And
this is one vote. This is one vote.
This is one vote, but they checked dozens, and they have thousands on that they could go through.
That's my point. The level of confirmation he's going through to prove it is ridiculous. This is why it needs to happen in person. Keep going. I'm sorry.
So his point is, if I'm just some guy who has a YouTube podcast or whatever, like I'm just some schmuck, basically. That's basically what he's saying. I can figure this out. Why is nobody else figuring this out? Why is this getting thrown out in courts? Why did the Supreme Court wait forever to look into any of it and then finally say, well, it's already after the election? Why is he the one doing this, and how was it so easy for him to do it and nobody else could do it? It's the answer, of course, is it's because they don't want to do it.
The cabal of people that were doing it to have the security of the election. It's the New World Order. They're saying it. They're saying it now.
I'm blown away by the fact that this happened. This HR 1 is a disaster. And they know, you've said it so many times in this program, these people know exactly what they're doing.
I mean, they literally wrote, there's no other way to articulate how to steal a country through voting. And this is everything, quite frankly, that Donald Trump warned you about.
Yeah. So for all of Donald Trump's flaws, he wasn't my favorite, but he nailed this exactly. He knew exactly what was happening. But it didn't change the election. In case anyone at YouTube or Google are watching, there was just irregularities.
Yeah, I'm sure Google and YouTube didn't change the election either. What's the value of a stream, David? They don't know, so they can't take accountability for it, for their influence on the election. All right, was that all you had today, my friend? For the
Yeah.
Okay, I'll breeze through a couple of things. Biden bucks. I guess the stimulus is getting pushed through.
Yeah, so it went through the House, went through the Senate, and then there was some revisions, so it's going back to the House. But it's a sure thing. It's going to go through.
Yeah, and they're saying this is like the first major piece solidifying Joe Biden's presidency. Yada, yada.
What about the other major pieces that he just executive ordered in?
It's almost like you don't want to bring attention to all those.
Those don't
because they
count.
were so pro-American. This is the first piece of major legislation for the American people for the Biden administration. Yeah, way to fucking remind me. This is political Stockholm syndrome and biological warfare.
The first major piece of legislation. Didn't he bomb Syria recently? Yeah, don't worry about that.
Biden bombs, Biden border, and Biden bucks, people. I read an article about UBI, and they tried it in a couple cities, and these people loved it and everything else. Get ready,
I'm
people.
sure they did.
I can't wait for my check from this Biden administration. Bankrupt that fucking dollar.
I'm just going to put it right into cryptocurrency and a new camera because GoPro sucks.
UN chief says we need to end, quote, deadly addiction, unquote, to coal projects. He wants to cancel them in Europe. So the country that already tries to run their, country like Germany has to buy their energy. They're setting a good precedent. So
that's great.
Just
Shut
like
it down in Europe.
California,
I'll take it.
Yeah. I guess our oil and stuff would be worth more if we were drilling for it, or our coal or our fracking. Biden was quoted the other day and said, "If we can land on Mars, we can cure a pandemic."
Yeah, those are almost the same thing.
I gotta think landing on Mars is a little easier, considering we fucking done it before. I'm honestly, I get what he's saying. I mean, truthfully, he means like we can pool our resources and our minds. Yeah, sure. I'm not gonna argue that, but like, I think there's a little context thing, and also way to shit on the Mars landing. Like, come on. Like,
could you imagine Kennedy in the 60s?
Like, yeah, well, did you stop the flu?
Yeah, we got to the moon, great, but people still have the sniffles.
Yeah,
real
AIDS
good
is
work.
killing people.
Yeah, great work. Great work on the moon, idiots.
What about the cocaine addiction?
People still have common colds, you dick. There's not even cheese up there.
Speaking of Democrats and their awesome policies, they were talking about reform in healthcare because it's always been a fuckery forever. And I just saw a headline that it was like the Democrats promised healthcare reform and instead gave it to Big Pharma. So
fascinating. It's almost like there's a cabal of people.
Yeah, maybe the cabal of the pharmaceutical. Like, I remember when I said that, I was like, oh, it's weird. It's almost like they don't want to list all the organizations and people and the branch of influence because it would show every side of this coin.
So for all the issues I have with Bernie Sanders, like just as a political, like, at least he knows that this kind of shit shouldn't happen. At the very least, Bernie Sanders is like, yeah, big pharma, 1/10, 1%, and he's calling it all out. I mean, he'll go right along with it, sure, but at least he knows it.
Yeah, he hated millionaires till he became one. Then it was hating the billionaires. It's a good strategy, man.
It used to be millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah. So there's an SUV crash in California, and apparently the people that died in there smuggled through a hole in the border fence.
Oh.
So,
Tiger Woods driving.
Too soon? Kobe!
Oh, no! Kobe, no! Kobe, no!
The Pope visited a church that was attacked by ISIS on Iraq. I gotta level with you. I don't care. I don't care. It's historic. The Pope, the church has no credibility. The only thing we need to care about, we should be storming that place, that country. They're the smallest country on earth. We should be storming them and taking all of the fucking knowledge and shit they have stored there and releasing it to humanity. It's the only thing we should be doing with those religious institutions is fucking taking all the knowledge back that they've kept from mankind. We need Prometheus of the modern era. Which, if you don't know, Prometheus stole the flame of knowledge from the gods and gave it to humanity in Greek mythology. And he was imprisoned by being chained to a rock and having vultures eat him out until he died. So
they did what to him?
Yeah, Zeus chained Prometheus to a rock in Greek mythology. And had vultures ate his eye and his stomach, which is super symbolic for whatever.
I think we're going to call this episode Whacking Off and Eating Out.
It should be called Full Cups and Empty Guts. All right, I'm moving along here. I'm just putting this last one. Cuomo altered reports. This Cuomo shit is going to get juicy, so we'll just. But The aides are behind it. More people are coming out. My only point I want to make is that I think it's ironic the Democrats are burying Cuomo. They're eating him right now, and they have to do it with sexual assault allegations because they're covering their ass for giving him power, and then the power they gave him killed people's grandparents, and they're trying to cover all of their ass because they're all in on it. They all allowed it to happen, and they're all held liable. They're trying to avoid it.
There was a hilarious narrative following this, and it's like, well, 3 accusers isn't enough, and then like less than 24 hours later, a 4th one stepped up. It's like, all right, is 4 enough? Did you go to 5? What's the magic? No. At what point do we care about sexual assault?
It's fantastic. Oh yeah, and then the last thing I really have is the DOJ was told to sanctuary cities they can stop reporting their numbers of people that they have.
Oh,
America first, great uniter.
Speaking of the great uniter, Chuck Schumer was talking about the stimulus bill, and that's what he stated, is that he owes it all to Biden, and all because of this unity style leadership or whatever the hell he said. Unity.
Yeah, voting with what do they call it? When they have all 3 branches, a supermajority, that's unity.
Well, I thought it was interesting that it passed with no Republican support, and the Chuck Schumer came out and talked about unity.
Unity, yeah, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant. All right, so I got one thing before Decembertainment. We're around the time, I don't actually know the date, but we're around 1 year of lockdowns officially. This is the 1 year recap of lockdowns, and I wanted to get your feeling. I wanted to talk about it.
When the lockdowns first happened, we were told, whether it was maliciously, nefariously, whatever, or if it was just out of lack of knowledge, we were told that this was going to be worse than it was. We were told it'd be 2 million people dead within 6 months. We were told it would be, whatever. And then when the deaths weren't there at the rate they thought, they focused on cases. Look at all these cases that everybody has. Everybody's getting sick. But originally they said the death rate was going to be 2 to 4%, 4 to 6%. Some people had it as high as 10% death rate, something ridiculous. And I knew the whole time, I can go back and find the video on our Facebook page when I was in my car doing it, that the death rate was not going to be anywhere near 2 to 4%. It was going to be 0.4%. Whatever, lives lost. We're talking about statistics, and sometimes you get lost in the fact that they're real people. I get it. But the fact is, this epidemic has not been as nearly as bad as we were told it would be. Is it because we flattened the curve for a year? Possibly. Is it because people got sick and started fighting it off and created some type of, immunity to it, and say a large group of some type, like, a herd? Possibly. The fundamental error is that we allowed government to control our businesses, our lives, and we did it for pretty minimal cost, in my opinion. We did it over a virus. If you're going to let
it's medical martial law.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's a medical FEMA camp. You got your vaccine reports, you got all that. Yeah, and back to your point, it's a multi-layered effort. We've been all focused on one thing, but yeah, I said since the beginning, I said originally lock it down and everything else. When I was listening to experts for a while about the masks and stuff, but conflicting information and everything that we've gotten over. Obviously, the way the media has been played on both the political, the science, and all the presidency and the election year, like it became too much to understand or even try to fathom between lies and fact. And we're told that the truth and believe facts, not fear. And we're getting lied to. We're getting mixed information. My very state hides numbers about people dying, but I'm supposed to believe you on other numbers. You shut down businesses. I'm told this is to help people, but
well, and the numbers
You're told relief's on the way, but it takes forever to get checks. I mean, I want to talk about the year of lockdowns because this is important. This is a crucial thing in America. This could decide our whole generation's future, our children's future. This could fuck or hurt us or help us or harm. I mean, we'll talk about this the rest of our lives. This is a biological 9/11.
Yeah, on the numbers front, I pointed out a while back on our page, I put a link to the CDC website. Even the CDC admits they stopped counting flu and pneumonia deaths and just lumped it all in with COVID.
Seems logical. Well, 2 plus 2 does equal 5, David. So
Yeah.
the extra number in there is just flu death.
So I don't know. There's
To
so
see
much
the
you could say about it.
Orwellian through it, though, that's the thing that's painful to me, and I just want to. I didn't want to spend too much time because we cover it every day. Pretty much this whole podcast since its inception has been under COVID, so we cover it weekly. But I just want a 1-year lockdown recap. It sucks. We're getting through it, but hoping things can go normal. But I'm not holding my breath with government. I can't trust them. So I'll segue that into Decembertainment this week. I'll have something in a couple weeks, but I'll reference it first. Zack Snyder's Justice League cut is coming out, which I don't know if is the one with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. The original Justice League cut, he was filming it. His daughter died of overdose, so he stepped away from the project. It was finished by Joss Whedon, who was the head of the Avengers movies, and the movie sucked. So there's always this mythical idea that there was a Snyder cut, Zack Snyder's Ultimate Vision. Zack Snyder has directed like 300. He's directed Batman vs. Superman. He directed Day of the Dead, I think. Basically, whatever. Sin City. So there's like the Snyder cut, and they're like, oh, it's not finished. So HBO shelled out lots of money to finish it. It's coming out in a couple weeks. It's 4 hours long, and it's being streamed.
Shit.
Yeah, it's being streamed on HBO Max. So I'm going to be watching that. I'm so fucking excited. So I may go back to the DC universe here lately. But this week for Decembertainment, dude, I've been sucked into Zelda.
Yeah.
The Switch is such a good system. It really is. But short of that, something came across my Facebook memories. And it was the first video I ever released to the social internet. So I watched that, and God, I've come a long way.
Yeah,
it's why I started doing it. It's kind of cool that it came back to me. It's why I do it, and I recorded that privately. Excuse me. Shortly after that, I started recording live because my phone was filled and I couldn't take pictures anymore. So I started recording live, and then it all evolved. But to see the origin was pretty cool. So I watched it. I felt embarrassed. I felt it was funny. It was entertaining. Just to see the growth. I tried watching it, like objectively, and then also thinking about it and emotionally. And it was very cool. I brought up last week about going through my journal I filled. It's just cool. It's kind of all at once. It's like the heavens opening up for me. But that was my first public video blog, podcast style video ever released. And it was in 2016. So this is 6 years. I'm sorry, 5 years.
There you go.
5 years of broadcasting, I guess.
We've talked about the going live thing. I don't trust myself to go live. I'll say. I need the ability to edit.
And I got one more thing. I did an audio book this past 2 weeks. I finally finished it, and it's a misogynist book. It's called The Rational Male. It's about hypergamy and the mansphere, and I'm not going to get into it, but it's my first audio book. I did okay with it. I enjoyed it. It was different. I've never listened to a book that way by myself. But yeah, I encourage everybody to look into those two things, hypergamy and the manosphere. It's real shit, people. Look into it. It's very interesting. It's like a whole segment of male and female dynamics that you don't necessarily think about. and it kind of aligns with some of the stuff Jordan Peterson talks about and some other people in biology. So it's very interesting, psychology, biology, very cool.
I don't know how well it'll show up. Not well at all. We got a green screen, so for my Decembertainment, I think we're going to be playing with that soon.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it. So
maybe I'll just film a DC movie myself since I can't figure it out.
Take that back. We'll see how good DC is now that Black Panther died and so did Iron Man.
Whoa! First of all, the character Iron Man died. The actor who played Black Panther died. Those are very different scenarios. Fuck GoPro. For Decembertainment, I'm going to smash this thing on camera.
You're going to smash it on its camera?
Yeah. I'm going to find a way to film it while smashing it.
All right, dude. Well, I hope everybody has a good week. I appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking around to the end. I'm Ryan and Dave with December 1773. Subscribe to the channel, engage, comment, like, subscribe. I will see everybody next week, Monday, when this airs. And hang in there.
Yeah, literally cannot say it enough. You need to comment, like.
Yeah,
it's the only way to get it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Engagement. And one last thing. I've been telling people I love lately. I saw friends and family this weekend. Time is a new currency. Time's the new currency, man. So I appreciate you for your time, David, and I appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah.
It's real shit, man. Take it for granted.
I don't even it's time to end the podcast. But with that said, I think that brings up a great point. Like, the amount of people we have who sit down and watch our podcast, even as small as our channel is right now, it means a lot. It really does. It's super cool to go through. You see your analytics and data and stats, and I'm super nerdy into numbers and stuff, so I dig that. But like, on the other end of that, it's a real person sitting down watching our stuff for 30, 40, 50 minutes.
Even 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's super. It's just cool to me that people are sitting down watching it, liking it. I love that people enjoy it. Love that our dogs like to chip in every once in a while. It's great. Good stuff. Cats are quiet, man.
Yeah, man. Time's the new currency, man. It's a currency of the future. As the world's getting bigger, the clock's getting shorter. So squeeze them moments, man. I'll catch y'all later.
Thanks. See you, everyone.
Thank you.